Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hey, Ron, I'm just getting you to go live and then I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Yeah, as long as I have the ability to share my screen, should be good.
Yep. Let's see. Where am I? Over here. Okay.
While you're setting up and start organizing some stuff here in the background.
Okay, cool.
So what you guys up to? Been up to? Tell me something.
Tell me something good.
Tell me how you've been implementing the tips, tricks, and values you've been getting out of these courses.
That's a live question, guys.
Yeah, I was in a post class right now, and I think me and Paro, and we had to make Facebook calls, and I believe I made two calls, and no one picked up.
Yeah, that happens. You'll find that there's a dial to contact ratio. It's also, it differs the type of numbers you're calling. Obviously, it differs between people that you know and people you don't know, and it actually differs between for sale by owners and expireds, and it it's different with cold calling. It's different if you call a business. So it's a different dial to contact ratio depending on the number. Also, time of day will make a huge difference, especially if you're calling a business after hours. They don't tend to pick up. So yeah, it just depends on different factors.
Right.
Yeah, it's a numbers game at the end of the day. That's just the best way to simplify it. I am the host now. Awesome. We can get this thing going.
You want to choose somebody to be your co-host so they can help you let people
Yeah.
in? Parul.
You're going to be here the whole time?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we can do that then. Let me pull that up. And we can have you be the co-host. Do you want to make? Yes, I do. And you are going to be the one that lets people in, because I will tell you, I get distracted, and sometimes when I'm hosting a call, I can't multitask, so I have trouble letting people in, and you're gonna have to help me out with that, okay? Also, same thing with the chat. If there's any questions in the chat, let me know, and then we'll answer those questions as well. Okay, sounds good. All right, let's get this party started. This is your Thursday buyer series at 2 p.m. as we do every single week. We like to discuss buyer related topics, and this week we're going to discuss your exclusive buyers agencies. The intention was to actually discuss multiple offers, but we're going to postpone that not to next weekend because of family reunion, but the following week we're going to talk multiple offers then. Coincidentally, there's a panel at the very same time on multiple offers. It's one of the breakouts, so you can jump in on that as well. That'll provide you value. So today we're going to do exclusive buyer agency. So you're going to hear me speak and talk about buyer consultations as well, because they do connect at a very high level when it comes to exclusive buyers agencies. And let me put it this way. I like simplifying things. Parul, right? You are a buyer, and I say with no pretext, with no preparation, I just approach you and I say, Parul, I'm an agent, you're a buyer, sign this for me. Sign this document for me. What are you going to tell me?
Why?
Exactly. Yeah, why should I sign it, right? There has to be something that happens before. We can't just approach a consumer or a prospect, a buyer, and say, sign this. It's not really going to work that well. We have to communicate. And what are we looking to communicate? We're looking to communicate value. You have to remember one thing. Again, I like to simplify things. It doesn't cost anything to hire a buyer's agent. So for the same price of $0, they can hire somebody, work with somebody, choose somebody that provides them a lot of value, or somebody that doesn't provide them any value? Which do you think that a buyer, a consumer, or a prospect, a seller, an investor, or whoever it may be, they're always going to choose the ones that provide them the most value? And I know that makes sense. It's just that sometimes we're not aware of it. So what that means is we can't just approach somebody and say, sign this document for me you've never seen before in your life. No, there has to be some sort of pretext about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about buyer consultation, or more specifically, what we're looking to communicate, how we communicate the value. And that's where we're going to connect the exclusive buyers agency. That's where we're going to start talking about handling those objections, because there will be objections that pop up. And then we're going to even role play it. So the intention for today is that you get value out of it and related to this topic, and of course, anything else that you can get out of it. Let's get into it. So I'm just going to share my screen. I am going to pop up the presentation that some of you have already seen in regards to the buyer presentation, consultation, discussion. But I only want to pull up the value proposition slides because it's really, really important. My name is Ron, Zamir Group, Keller Williams. I'm the buyer specialist. That's really all I really like to do is, as far as the intro goes. But the buyer consultation, we're not going to get into. The two slides that we're going to focus on today is value proposition and the structure of one. And I'm just going to go briefly over this. It's going to be about 5 minutes. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I just want you to know that it connects at a very high level to getting the business, to having them choose us, work with us, right? So when it gets back to value, again, we just said, they're going to hire us because we're providing more value than the next buyer's agent. Okay, well, what kind of value can we provide as a buyer's agent? The list is pretty much in front of you. Everything on this list encompasses most of what a buyer's agent can provide as far as value goes. And its expertise and knowledge in previewing homes and obtaining multiple offers and over communicating and negotiation skills and accommodation and vendor networks and off-market homes and preparation and guides and understanding local markets. And now we need to communicate that. Now I get that that's a lot of different value propositions. I will also tell you, in order to have somebody be agreeable or sign the exclusive buyers agency and work with us, choose us, you don't need a lot. One or two will do the job. It really will. If you're communicating, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would it be helpful to you if I saw every home before you did? Yeah, that's a value proposition. And it could even be Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would it be helpful to you if every listing that came to the market, I would send it to you right away the instant it came on, so you can see it before anybody else? By the way, that's something that we all have access to, right? It's on your NJMLS. Yeah, you just put them on a prospect. So you can provide value in different ways. You don't need to be providing a lot of value. Am I moving? Oh, okay. So I'm going to move for a second, guys. I can talk and walk. I'm good like that. So you don't need to be providing a lot of value. One or two will do the job. And so where was I? Sorry, I got sidetracked because I was moving from room to room. Hold on, let me let them in. Guys.
You were talking about providing value, Ron.
Yeah, so, right, providing value. You don't need to provide the most value in the world. You just have to provide something, right? So look at the list. Does anybody have any questions about those particular value propositions and how you can develop it, how you can communicate it? Again, I don't want to spend too much time on these ones, on the actual value proposition. I'm just looking to connect it to what we're trying to accomplish today.
I think they're pretty straightforward. It's just that you can just explain them a little bit, like in a sentence or two, what it means.
Oh, each one?
I mean, if you need to just show them what your value is. I'm just saying it just makes, it's easy to, like, you are an expert, you have knowledge about, you're a buyer's agent, you preview homes before, you take your buyer clients, and you're an expert in obtaining multiple offers. You over communicate and you make sure that they understand. And I mean, I'm just saying it's pretty much straightforward to read them for
Yeah,
them.
and it's also pretty straightforward on how do we develop those skills.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen instantly. It's a lot of these actually develop over the course of months and even years. You know, you're going to prepare, and you know, your ability to guide somebody isn't, you know, you can't develop that skill overnight. You know, you're going to get familiar with the buying process, and then you communicate the buying process, and you get familiar with the market conditions, and you communicate the market conditions. You're going to develop the ability to how, you know, how to strengthen an offer in multiple offer situations, and you're gonna be able to communicate that. So you have to obviously develop these skills over time, and then we can communicate our value proposition.
Like-
So
Someone like a new agent, they can just say that because they have not done any transactions yet, or they don't know what multiple offer situation is. You know, they can.
oh, I don't know about that. I'll tell you, just because you're a new agent, you've never done a transaction, doesn't mean you can't discuss the buying process in a way that would it be helpful if I was your guide throughout the entire buying process? Would it be helpful if I always told you what happened next? That's of value to the consumer. So even without doing any transactions, I have, if you know the process, you can always tell them what happens next. That's of value to them. So it does bring them closer, and it does increase likelihood they work with us, choose us, hire us. So with a lot of these, even a new agent can communicate these particular value propositions. I mean, any agent can say, would it be helpful to you if I saw the homes before you did? Now, you better say what you do what you say. But if, you know, if they're coming from New York and Queens and Hoboken, and maybe even from Virginia, I don't know, would it be helpful to them if I save them time by going to the home, maybe even FaceTiming them, or doing videos of the home, or taking extra pictures and obtaining more information, going above and beyond your traditional buyer's agent? Any agent can do that. Yet very rarely does your traditional agent just actually do that. So just by doing a little bit more, just instead of being ordinary, just doing that little bit extra, it will help you get hired, and it will help you get chosen to work with, and it will help bring them closer to you and become more loyal and more committed to you. So you just have to do a little bit extra than your traditional agent is doing, which is not much, by the way. Right? So let's take this. Let's take these value propositions and just keep it handy. Just remember it, okay? Let's go next. And this is the structure of a buyer presentation. Now, here's what we need to know. Because we're communicating value, and because we're setting the expectations, it happens throughout, from beginning, middle, and end of your consultations, presentations, discussions. It's happening in the beginning, it's happening in the middle, and it's happening in the end. Now, what happens is, throughout this, see, when we're communicating value, would this be helpful to you? Yes. Would this benefit you? Yes. Would this be of value to you? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And then when you connect it with this, it's value, value, value. Yes, yes, yes. You see how everything connects? Now, the exclusive buyer's agency, where does it come into play? At what phase?
On the prequel.
Well, we actually present it when?
After the buying process
After the close.
close.
Right? When we say intro, tell me about yourself, and we're talking about the middle part, the body. We're doing the needs analysis, the market conditions, and the buying process. After we're done with our presentation, we've communicated all the value in the world. Then we go for the close, and then we're going to ask them to hire us, to work with us. So it comes at the end. Do you see how the buyer discussion, consultation, presentation, how it preps us for success, how it sets us up? Now, I'm not saying that approaching somebody, you know, and saying, sign this without any pretext, without any, you know, education, without any value, you're not going to get people to sign it. You might very well get every now and then somebody to sign it. But if we're talking about conversion, we want to improve our conversion on getting people to work with us, this is probably a better way to do it. So we're setting it up. And let me stop the screen here for a second. Is everybody familiar with the document? The exclusive buyer's agency.
It's in the is the market center, it's in the market center documents, Ron, is that correct?
It's actually, yeah, I mean, I still have access to Dotloop. And it's in my Dotloop, it's in my templates. It's a 2-page document. Very straightforward, fill in the blanks. If you notice on the very top, it just simply says agent, your buyer, your brokerage, the municipality, the towns that you're working in. Sometimes I'll even put a specific address in there. And then you're just going down the list. Again, name of licensee, name of brokerage. Now, the most important line on this document is actually line number 4. In my eyes, it's actually where the the dates, where the effective dates are from beginning to end. We're going to talk a little bit more about that particular line moving forward. And then at the very bottom, it's just sign. It talks a little bit about dual agencies and if they've received the CIS moving down there. But it's 11 sentences and sign the bottom. It's a very straightforward form. It's not very long. It's not too much. How do I? What's the word I'm looking for? It's not too frightening, right? It's not too much. It's not too intensive a form. Now, here's what I'll tell you before we actually get into the objections for exclusive buyers agencies. If you don't ask for it, then the answer is already no. Makes sense, right? I've never had somebody sign one when I didn't ask for it. Of course, if you don't ask, you don't get. So that only makes sense. Now, I'll tell you that if you've provided enough value, if you've communicated enough value, they'll agree to it, right? So again, you don't need a dozen different value propositions. 1 or 2 will generally do the job. You just have to find a place to insert it in your discussions, in your conversations, in your presentations, and that way it'll improve your conversion. Now, I will also tell you, it is my opinion that we shouldn't be signing everybody to one of these. Now, I'm not your broker, and this isn't an agency class. Just the way that I run my business, and this is my personal opinion, is that there's some people we should not be working with. Right? You might have even come across some of these buyers. Yeah, they're out there. I just recently, as I just had one this morning, where I told Zora, I was like, Zora, this is not somebody we want to be working with. They're never going to buy a house. It doesn't make sense sometimes. So this process, the buyer consultation, we're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing us. Yet it's a lot easier to decline somebody when you have a full pipeline compared to an empty pipeline. And that I understand because I was there too. When our pipeline or our lead pipeline is very, very low, then we're more inclined to work with the more difficult ones. Where if we have a very filled pipeline, then we're less inclined to, we're more picky as to who we want to be working with. And I get that. And that's okay. And the fun part about this business is that we get to choose how to run our own. I get to choose how to run mine, and you get to choose how to run yours. What I will tell you is that by signing them to an exclusive buyers agreement, when we ask the question, does it increase the likelihood they'll be loyal to us? Does it increase the likelihood they'll be more committed to us? I think the simple answer is yes, they will be. Right? Now, does that mean that they can actually go buy even after they've signed one of these documents with somebody else? Yeah, it's happened to me. Doesn't mean that they're actually going to end up buying with us, yet it does increase the likelihood they do buy with us. And that's why we have these documents signed. It protects us to a degree, right? It also helps bring them closer to us. It creates a better relationship in a way. Okay, any questions so far? I know I speak very, very quickly, even though I'm trying to slow it down. I'm always reminding myself in the back of my head, you should slow down.
So it doesn't protect you from, if they go buy with another agent, you don't get any of the percentage of the money?
So it does if they didn't cancel with you. It does give you a protection to a degree. Yet I will tell you, I've had, this is just me, again, it's a personal opinion. Your broker will advise you how to proceed in these type of circumstances. I'm not going to waste time, energy, and even money going after them. It doesn't make sense for me. I don't see it as going to sue somebody. It's actually going to cost me more than what the commission is actually worth. It doesn't make it economically feasible in my eyes. So if somebody doesn't want to work with me, I'm okay with that. I'm not afraid to lose a potential client. Now, here's what you need to know. They can actually cancel whenever they want, whether they did so or not before they bought with somebody else. That was their prerogative. But in essence, if you read line 4 on that exclusive buyer's agency, they can cancel whenever they want. It's not a very strong exclusive buyer's agency in the state of New Jersey yet. Again, by signing one of these documents, it does increase the likelihood they will be more committed and more loyal to you because they don't read that. Nobody ever reads that word for word unless they're detail oriented. So, and that's also, you're going to find why I have certain type of objection handlers that reference it. So let's get into that. Let's talk about some objections. Let's talk about the objections first, and let's get the objection handlers after, and then we can even role play it. So talk to me. What kind of objections you guys got? What are you getting on the ground? What are you getting from clients?
Ron, before you start with the objections, can you just say how you would, like what words you would use to present this to them when it's the time? Like, what would you say?
So you'll hear it in the role play. I use verbiage that's very non-threatening. So what I like to call it, I don't call it an exclusive buyer's agency. I call it an agent commitment letter. So if I started using that because it sounded a lot less threatening. And I use the line when I'm handling the objection, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this document says that you're the client, I'm the agent, and I'm going to take very good care of you. So when I'm explaining the document, that's just the way I explain it. And they're like, oh, okay. And they sign the bottom. So I just feel like it's a lot more less threatening. There's other words you can use. I'm not saying you should use these words either. I'm saying if you like it, go ahead and, imitate it, copy it, make it your own. And if you don't like it, then don't worry about it. I always say that with anything and everything that I say. I will always say my way is not necessarily the best way for you. It's just another way.
Question.
Right? We're always looking for the best way for us to convert, and we are different personalities, so they come across differently. Yes, you had your hand raised.
Question.
Yes.
So you talk about you talk about it in the sense of an agent commitment letter, that it's committing you to them, which sounds great. But do you also go over the commission part of it in terms of what they're responsible for, even though you may not ever go over it?
So typically,
go after it?
that's a good question. That's a great question. So that does come up at some point, normally when I'm talking about for sale by owners, and then it might come up again during this conversation. Again, conduct your businesses as you wish. When it comes to me, I handle it very, very swiftly and easily. I just say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I don't want you to worry about the commission at all. I'm going to negotiate all commissions. And if I can't negotiate my own commission, I guess I'm not that good. Don't worry about it. So I get it. You're saying, well, what about protecting yourself? Well, it's my job to actually recommend and encourage you to, yes, protect yourself by saying, you're going to put down 2%, 2.5%, 3%, whatever. You put 10% in there for all you like. You can put any commission you want. Yet that's just the way that I do it. Okay. And yes, I've always been paid, even when it was for sale by owners.
Can I ask one more?
Of course.
So I was talking about this with someone, not a KW person, and what they actually do, they're in a completely different area. What they actually do is they put, and your thoughts on this, they actually put 0 on that because they know they're not ever going to go after it. And this way they find that the buyers are less hesitant because they don't feel like they're going to have to come out with money out of pocket, but they feel good about the commitment.
I always just leave it blank, but actually I'm going to start using that. I'm actually going to start putting 0 in there. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Anything else you guys want to add? Any other questions, thoughts before we move forward?
So where were we adding the 0? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Where the line that provides the commission to the buyer's agent.
Ron, how long the agreement valid for?
It's up to you. It's up to you. So on that line on sentence number 4, from this date to this date, you can put it in for 24 hours. You can put it in for 6 months. You can put it in for a year. You can put it in for 2 weeks or 2 months, or it's you that decides the length of time that you want to insert.
So there is no legal timeline.
No, this is a legal document that all we're supposed to do is fill in the blanks. So if we're not technically supposed to make any amendments to any of the documents, whether it be the offer or this. Do we? Yeah, we do as agents. But I would always recommend if you're making any changes, just have everybody initial it. So if, for instance, you wanted to change like where it says 3 days on number 4, if you wanted to change it to, I don't know, 5 days, just or any other number, 0 days, you just have somebody initial by next to any changes. But technically, we shouldn't be making any changes to the documents. It's just really just fill in the blanks. But the time frame, it's whatever time frame you want. I typically do it for 30 days. And it's also part of my objection handling where I'm saying, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if I can't find you a home within 30 days, I'm not doing my job right. And we need to schedule another sit down to go over exactly what you're looking for.
Ron,
Thank you.
Yeah.
so you're saying that there is no date, there is no timeline yet. They can walk, I mean, you can put 6 months, 9 months, whatever you want, but they can walk out at any time, even though it's legally binding, yet it doesn't really matter what you put.
It's legally binding as long as they don't cancel.
Okay.
So if they send you a communication that says thanks but no thanks, then we're done. Actually, I'm going to read it off to you. Actually, let me pull up the screen. Again, this is not something we should be focusing on so much for one major reason. They don't read it, right? Another reason we shouldn't be focusing on it, because just by the signing of the document, it increases likelihood they're loyal to us and are more bound to us. So you see how it says time frame on term? Shall commence on, shall expire at. Read the second half. Or 3 days after receipt by buyer's agent of a written termination notice from buyer, whichever shall come first. Right? So in essence, yes, they can just tell us thanks but no thanks, and we're done. Now, that being said, most buyers won't even read it, won't even notify you. They'll stay in the relationship even if they're sour. That's also why we have these documents signed, because it does increase the likelihood they are more committed, more loyal to us. Okay. Now, let's get into the objections. Let's get into the handling of the objection. Actually, the objection handlers are the fun part. The objections are less fun, but the objection handlers are the fun part. So when we're getting towards the close, I don't want to bring the screen back up just for the sake of time. You know how when I put the close part at the very end of the buyer consultation, let's take it from there. Let's take it from there because it's just easier to go over it, to review everything. So Parul, you still here? I don't see it for some reason. Okay, you're in the middle. Do me a favor, just pretend to be a buyer. We just did a buyer consultation. Pretend to give me some pushback on this exclusive buyers agency. You'll find that the most likely objection is I don't feel like signing it, not right now. Yet listen to the objection handlers, and then we're going to review after we're done with the role play. Let's go over some more handlers, okay?
Okay.
All right, so again, setting is we're just finishing up the buyer consultation. I've already communicated all the value in the world to you. Let's go. Parul, do you see all the value that our team is able to provide, more so than your traditional agent?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
and do you know what all that value is going to cost you, Parul?
I'm not sure.
Nothing. It's not going to cost you anything.
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Okay.
So what do you think? Do you think I can be your agent?
Yeah, but I was wondering, like, if we see an open house or something like that, do we need to consult you? Can't we just go in and just, go check the house?
As reviewed in our buyer consultation presentation, Parul, which we just finished. We per our discussion, you can go to as many open houses as you like. When you arrive at the open houses, you can sign in with our name, so they don't bug you for feedback. And if you like the property and whatever feedback you have, I'll communicate to the agent. We'll take it from there.
Okay.
But yes, feel free to go as many open houses as you like. It's always inserted in the buyer consultation, Parul. Anyways, also for sale by owners, that objection, we always discuss it as well. So let's get back on track. So what do you think, Pearl? Do you think we can work together? Do you think I can be your agent?
Should I say yes? Should I?
Yes, and we didn't get to the, normally they're polite and they'll say, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
yes.
Sure, well, that's great. So in order for us to begin working together, I just need you to sign this agent commitment form and we're gonna go to work.
What is this agent commitment form?
Well, it just says that you're the buyer, I'm the agent. I'm gonna take really good care of you. I'm gonna help you achieve and accomplish the outcome that you're looking for, which is gonna be in a home that you're gonna enjoy for many years to come. Sounds good?
Sounds good, but I'm a little hesitant to sign that form. I don't know what exactly it is, how many days and how many weeks or months you're gonna make me sign that. And do I owe you, like you said, I don't owe you anything on this, but how does it work?
Sure. Well, it's actually, as you can see here, which is inserted right there on the blank, which is right next to sentence number 4. It's just for 30 days per role. And honestly, if I can't find you a home that you're going to enjoy in 30 days, then I'm not doing my job right, and we're going to have to schedule a sit down and kind of review exactly what you're looking for. So it's just for 30 days per role. How does that sound?
That sound actually, I feel much better. No, okay.
Here you go.
No, what do I say? No, I'm actually not comfortable with that. I think I just want to go for the week by week and see, if we haven't even started working with you. We want to see how we kind of build the relationship here, and, we like you as an agent or not. So how about just 1 week for now?
Yeah, and I understand. And Parole, this relationship that we have, it's not like a committed relationship, like we're getting married or anything. It's kind of like, in essence, it's kind of like dating, right? You go out, you're committed to each other. Yet if you want to break up, all you have to do is let me know via text, email, phone call, and you let me know. It's, thanks, but no thanks. And we'll shake hands, stay friends, and go our separate ways. How does that sound?
It's that easy? I mean, if I do the agreement, I won't be liable for anything?
No, actually, if you tell me, you know what, we like you, if I don't do what I say what I do, if the service I provide, if you're not happy with it for any reason whatsoever, just let me know. Phone, text, pigeon carrier, however, which way you like, let me know, and I'll take this document, I'll rip it up, we'll shake hands, stay friends, and each one will go their own direction.
So
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, if I sign this for a week, but we really like working with you, can we extend it?
Of course. That's always possible as well.
Okay. No, okay.
Okay. You know what, Pearl? Let's do this. I've already scheduled 2 homes for us to go view. Why don't we go view those homes? Why don't we call it a trial run? And then if you like what you see, we'll go ahead and sign this document after. How does that sound?
Yeah, that makes me feel a little bit better. That after 2 showings, we'll see what you're showing, if you did understand what we were looking for. So I'll be more happy to sign it at that time.
Yeah. Very good. So we just, we inserted a few objection handlers. Obviously, it's not all of them. There's plenty of objection handlers we can use when it comes to time to, handle the objections of, the exclusive buyers agency. Before I kind of move forward, do you guys have any thoughts, comments, anything you want to ask? Anything that we just discussed?
Lance,
Is it?
Lance,
Go ahead. Didn't hear you.
we can't hear you, Lance. You're still muted.
Reception issues?
No,
Maybe.
Did we mute him? No, I don't think so.
Let me see. I don't see any issue on my end.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, so what about the couple or the individual that is not ready? And I know we pre-qualified them, but they're 6 months down the road. Do you get into this with them, or you're waiting till you find something on the internet, and then when you're ready, then we can take you out type of thing.
So there's no rule about having them sign an exclusive buyer's agreement well in advance of when they're ready. You can also sign it for future dates, just like a listing. This is a listing, it's a buyer listing by all means. So if we're in, what are we in, February, and you wanted to have a start date of August 1st, you could do that too.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no rules. I mean, you kind of just, go about your business the way you'd like to go about your business. There's no right or wrong here. Again, I'm never going to say somebody's way is right and somebody's way is wrong. It's whatever you prefer, So it's up to you. Now, there's other ways to handle any objection, including these objections. And when we're talking, you can always, of course, do what Hal Benzo's, promotes, which is obviously, be agreeable. I understand. And then find that, move towards the solution, and hopefully you're their solution. And, insert value proposition here is always a good way. And, is this helpful to you? Would this benefit you? Would this be of value to you? And then of course, you're looking to isolate these concerns and handle them. So how can you easily isolate concerns? Well, you can always ask the questions, just like David, always likes to isolate concerns with sellers or for sale by owners or expireds. What specifically is preventing you from signing with me today? What is what's your concern with signing with me today? So there's always a good way to isolate it and then handle that particular objection, whatever's preventing them from moving forward as well. And then if they say, oh, I just want to see some homes first, or I'm not ready yet. I understand how you feel, and I can't wait to go show you some homes. Yet, in order for us to be working together, I need you to sign this agreement. Let them know these are your standards of business. This is my business policy. That's also an objection handler. So just like we isolate concerns and handle the objections with sellers, we'll do the same thing with buyers as well.
Great.
What else? Any other questions? Anything
So
you want me to highlight, go over? You
if
got me
it-
for a good 20 minutes, so.
Yeah, Ron, if they're
Yeah.
not willing to sign, do you let them walk away?
If they're not willing to sign, that is a good question also. So I'm going to turn that around and ask you the question. If they're not to sign, I'm going to ask you in a different way. And you already intended on showing them homes. Are you not going to show them the homes, or are you still going to show them the homes?
No, I personally would probably show them the homes and let them know, that
See,
I would meet with them and show them the homes this first time. And then afterwards, if they still don't feel that they want to work with me, then fine, we'll part ways.
and that's the answer that I was fishing for. That's why I turned the question around on you, because I do the same thing. And I'm not saying do it that way to everybody else. Everybody can, again, decide how they want to run their business. Somebody doesn't sign it, you don't want to, your policy is, your standard of business practice is not to show homes to anybody that's not signed. Fine, that's fine too. Yet I think that whether you ask them, whether you don't ask them, whether you sign, you don't sign, the majority of agents or your traditional agent are going to go about their business about the same way, whether they sign or don't sign. Right? So here's where the question comes in then, why not ask? Because the majority of the buyers surveyed, and most major surveys, when they were asked after purchasing a property, well, what prevented you from signing a exclusive buyer's agreement? Their number one answer was
Never asked.
they didn't ask. You see, the majority of buyers will sign if you ask. How simple is that? So it should, it should increase your awareness level around the issue to the point where it is that simple. All you have to do is simply ask. And the majority of people will not give you as much pushback as you might think. And if they do give you pushback, all you need is a few half-decent, not even decent objection handlers in your back pocket so that you can use. So, you're going to say, You can use any of the objections that I used. You can use additional ones that we didn't use. There's no shortage of objection handlers yet. At the end of the day, if you are prepared, you will convert all the time, right? So if you're communicating enough value, you will also have an increased conversion. So a lot of times when they say no initially, I'm going back to what I said in the beginning of the session. The most likely you can communicate enough value so you can handle the objection at that point. Okay. And again, you don't need that much value and you don't need that many objection handlers. Peru would have said yes on the first one or two, just like most buyers would have. You know, I get, if you have 5 objection handlers, 6 objection handlers, 10 objection handlers ready to go, you'll be fine, right? It doesn't, there's no scenario, there's no circumstance that'll prevent you from getting this document signed.
And I've realized that people are like, they're on such a rush to, you know, we just want to see the homes first. And if you ask them, even for 15 minutes, if you can do a Zoom call with them and go over, they feel more comfortable. And I just feel that rather than doing it in the car or in someone else's house while showing, it's a little more difficult for them to concentrate on you or with you. It's better to just take that 15 minutes from them any time of the week and just before you go with them do a consultation like that.
Yeah, and when it comes to the consultation, I love everything but what you just said. And I agree with it. And yeah, there's no distractions when it's a one-on-one, face-to-face, whether it be Zoom or in an office setting. And it allows us to communicate what we need to communicate. Now, when they say they don't have time, let's talk about that. It's an objection. When somebody tells me I don't have time, there's an easy objection handler that we can use. How much time do you have? Oh, I have 3 hours. Well, that's plenty of time. All I need is 10, 15 minutes to discuss the buying process, speak up the market, and just answer any questions you might have. And then we're going to go see some homes. Sounds good? Or you can do it the other way, just like Perul said. Let's go see some homes, then we'll do the buyer consultation at the end. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever is best practice for you. Whatever improves your conversion the most, you do that, right? That's just an easy objection handler. Well, how much time do you have? And you'll find that many of them will say, oh, I have until 4 o'clock, or I have 2 hours, I have 5 hours, whatever. It's just an easy way to kind of get them to where we want them to be. So you're going to give them what they want, yet they're going to give you what you want too. They're going to give you that meeting. They're going to give you that time to discuss what needs to be discussed.
I just let them know because some of them are so anxious right now because with the multiple offers, nothing is on the market. And I tell them, you need to understand what goes on or what's going on right now before we even start, you know, the showing process. So it's easier for them to, you know, calm down beforehand to make them understand. I mean, they don't have time, but when I tell them that, you know, don't you want to know, you know, how we can deal with this situation if it arises beforehand? And they agree. They want to know how we can, you know, come up with a plan or make them understand the process. So they agree. They're like, yeah, we want to know. We want to know. So.
Then everything you just said was actually one big objection handler. And I say it that way because I'm just going to simplify it. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, like you know, we've had this conversation with buyers, many before, and they all felt more comfortable, more confident after having this discussion. Wouldn't you like to feel more comfortable, more confident with this whole buying process? That's really what you were looking to communicate. It's great. That's exactly what this discussion, this 10, 15 minutes is going to provide you. So why don't we do this? And then you tell them exactly the way you want it. You want to meet them at the, you want to talk to them, you want to do it separately, it'll set up the meeting for you. So I just simplified everything into just one smaller objection handler, because everything you said, Perul, was just one kind of bigger objection handler. And isn't that the goal? You know, when we start off our discussions, with them. We want to set the intent, we want to set the expectation, we want to communicate the goal. That by all means can be it. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, first of all, you start with gratitude. I want to thank you for meeting me today, spending a little bit of time with me to discuss the buying process. The goal of our conversation today is to make you feel what? More comfortable, more confident with the buying process. It's gonna help you convert at a much higher level. All you have to do is tell them. It's actually telling them the truth, right? There's nothing false about anything that I just said. It will make them feel better. It will make them feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident. And I always say, what happens when somebody doesn't know what happens next? They get frustrated, distraught, anxious. We don't want that. They don't want that either. I don't want that for them. So we're going to prep them. We're going to guide them. That's what we're here for. That also what brings them closer to us. That also what increases loyalty, that increases commitment, that increases rapport, that increases likability, that increases everything. All levels, right? Right. Okay. What else you guys got? I got a question for you, I guess. I asked kind of a similar question in the beginning. Has anybody been able to implement any of this at all, at any level? Or are you just beginning the experiences with buyer consultations and exclusive buyers agencies?
I haven't tried yet, but I'm definitely going to start doing it because I had a situation the other day where somebody called me up. The agent was from out of town and they wanted to come see a house up here. I think it was in Saddlebrook. And I asked if they had another agent they're working with because I was doing the questionnaire. And they had said, yes, he's on vacation. I've heard you say this many times, but if he's on vacation, he must have somebody backing him up. If he doesn't, have him give me a call. I'd be happy to help him to try and work a referral deal. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to, and I got this buyer, when I brought this up, explaining to them, and there was a lot of pushback because I wasn't skilled enough to know how to do it, which I will be after this meeting. And they ended up, just waiting for the guy to come back from vacation. Truth of the matter is the house was going to have 15 offers on it, but nonetheless, it would have been nice to have this in my back pocket to use it for the purpose it's been used for.
Well, here's what you need to know. That scenario, it's played out like for me several times over, many times, several times, where I'm always asking that question: are you working with another agent? And many times, yes, they are. And I let them know that they should contact that agent to schedule a showing. And if they still, on a rare, like it never happens, on a rare occasion, they actually want to meet you at the house, you're going to have them sign this exclusive buyers agency just for that one house, and that's okay too. So that's going to happen. But what we're running into a lot lately, because I get a lot of phone calls, I speak to a lot of people, they're telling me also they don't have, when I'm pre-qualifying them, they might be telling me they don't have an agent. And then after you show them a property, what happens? All of a sudden they have an agent, right? So it's, I do like to trust people. I do like to, take people at their word. I like to think that people have a high level of integrity, yet at the same time, I know from experience that the public has no problem wasting our time. So that's where your standards of practice will protect you.
Ron, I don't have a buyer. I'm working with renters, but they're looking at pretty expensive rentals. I have two issues. One, sometimes they want to look at more than they need to. I've developed something to help them close that. But when do you say to yourself, or how do you say nicely to them that, my time is money and I can't spend, a month with you?
Well, we're going to set the expectation. Sorry, I'm moving around. We're going to set the expectation with the renters of how it's going to look because they don't know. Okay. Renters, especially, they're less loyal than even buyers are. And I will give you just a tip with renters, especially if you're not on top of them on about everything and every day, you're more likely to lose them. because they keep looking, basically. So if we're not on top of them like all the time and notifying them of properties before they see it, and like, yeah, they'll just call listing agents. They're more likely to do that more so than even a buyer is. So the renters, regardless of price point, whether it's 5,000 or 1,500, you definitely want to be on top of them. And in regards to setting the expectations there as to what it looks like, I mean, I guess, how you schedule your appointments with that particular buyer, that's again standards of practice. You're available to them whenever they at a moment's notice, or is it just on the weekends? You make sure you pre-qualify them, of course. Make sure they have pets, don't have pets. They're educated about the process, because there is something called a broker fee / tenant fee. And if we don't educate them, or we don't confirm that they're okay with it, that's where we run into issues, right? Oh, I love this house, I want to submit an application. What are you talking about? What's a broker fee? Right? So we have to educate them about the fee. We have to educate them about the move-in expense, you can call it. And you have to make sure that you're not wasting your time spinning your wheels, because if they have a 150-pound dog and they didn't tell you about it, then, and you just see the checkbox marked on the rental application, it's going to affect those landlords' decision making, especially when they said no pets, right? And the majority of landlords seem to have a no pet policy. So before you spend your wheels, also pre-qualify renters just as we would pre-qualify anybody else. Make sure we educate them about the process, so they're more prepared for what happens next also. So it increases our conversion, and be on top of them. Be on top of them all the time. Now, as far as systems go with, renters, you can have a system here too, right? There's something called a rental application. It's pretty universal, right? You only have to fill it up really once. There's just that line on page 3 where you put the address. You can easily change the address there every single time. You can have them prepare that rental application even before showing them properties. You can have them fill that rental application for any property and just keep the application, right? Because it's the same application you'll be resubmitting anyway. So as part of your system, when working with renters, yes, you can put them on an auto prospect, which I imagine most agents are doing, but you can also go above and beyond. You can also actually send them a rental application, or if you're somebody that likes to work with, let's say, NTN or any other credit network, get them to prepare their reports on those platforms, so you have it ready and in hand. And you can send an intro email with these items attached, introducing yourself. It's a lot more professional. Or when you're meeting them, provide them a folder with everything in it, with a copy of an application, a copy of the different sites that you want them to go to obtain their credit report, so on and so forth. So it's just a lot more of a professional way to help you improve your conversion too. And yes, again, it's like the most important thing with renters: be on top of them all the time. Make sure you don't lose them. I don't even remember how we got to renters, but I got in. Sorry about that. Okay, all right. So we got a few minutes left. We got 5 minutes left. Anything else you guys want to have questions about, concerns about, comments about, thoughts about, opinions about? Now's the time. What can I add?
General question.
Yeah, go.
I have a buyer that is coming from Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go virtual, and then he's going to come fly out the minute he sees something. Can he do that with the COVID form?
Say again? What do you mean?
Do you have to quarantine first before you actually step foot in a house? Like if he's coming from Arizona?
With questions like those, I'm supposed to say reference CDC's website, but I guess it depends on state, state to state. I guess what states are red and what states are green. So that's I think it's the only answer that any broker will provide is just reference the CDC guidelines on their website.
Okay, thank you.
Kristen, I had this kind of a thing where they were asked to quarantine because the sellers were freaking out that they just traveled, and because that's the question they ask, have you traveled in the last 10 days or something? So that does come up, and no one would like to have him in their homes, even if you sign the COVID form, whatever, just so that to be safe. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was reading through the COVID form, and I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot. It like just didn't click.
I want to go back to Lance's, we have a few minutes left. Lance, you said that scenario where somebody reached out to you, but they already had an agent, but they were on vacation. That was, that was never a viable, prospect, is what I'm trying to say. It's not something that you lost. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
something that you had to, necessarily be prepared for. I say it's a win that you didn't waste your time. Actually, I look at it the other way around.
I got you. And I agree, because they gave me the courtesy the next day to tell me they're gonna, deal with their agent directly. Because I told them, have the agent call me. I'd be more than happy to help them out. It's not an issue whatsoever. I don't want to step on his toes. That's how I played it. And to your point, yeah, I didn't lose sleep over that one for sure.
Yeah, and you would have, you definitely would have wasted your time, energy, and efforts if you would have actually met them while they have another. It doesn't make sense, right? So, unless you like seeing houses, then it's a win. But other than that, no, it's not something that we lost. It's actually, we're pre-qualifying to make sure we don't waste our time. So we know how much time, energy, and effort to invest in these prospect consumers, buyers, whoever happens to be calling you, right? So it's in that scenario, you actually did a good job pre-qualifying, and there was no objection to handle.
Right. And that's a credit to you. I've definitely gotten better at that. So I'm not running all over the place for no good reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Now-
take somebody out. I want to make sure they're for real.
Now, you could take it a step further. You could say, well, what if there was? Yeah, some agents will take that opportunity to look to convert that buyer into their buyer, but that's not just how I run my business, and that's not how I, encourage others to run their business. But I'm not saying you can't. There's definitely ways to do it, and it comes back to value proposition. So if you can communicate value proposition, you can also convert at a higher level in those type of scenarios. But I'm not going to encourage other agents to do that. So you could turn somebody, because the majority of agents in New Jersey don't sign exclusive buyers agencies.
I asked, did you sign anything? That was my first question. He said no. So
Yeah.
then I have, let's go, And then when he said, well, I'm working with a guy, that's when I kind of said, just have him call me then. If you don't want to see it just with me, if you don't want to sign this form, have him call me. I'll take the, in my head,
Yeah.
take the referral.
And I'm going to end this call on one note. And just it's a valid question. I say, you know what? If I show them 1,000 homes and they go and they buy a home without me, do they owe me anything?
No, not really.
No. And what if I didn't even show them the home? They call me up and they say, we want to submit an offer with you, and I submit the offer in writing. Am I getting paid?
Yes.
Yeah. You see, they get to choose who their representation is. We have to make sure we're not wasting our time. And it doesn't matter how many homes you show somebody. At the end of the day, if you're looking to simplify, procuring cause is whoever they put the offer with, whoever they choose to put the offer with. Again, they choose, right? The buyer has the ability to choose who they want representing you. Make sure that we provide as much value as possible so that they do work with us. They are committed to us. They are loyal to us. This document, exclusive buyers agencies, agent commitment letters, whatever you want to call them, they do help us increase conversion. They do help us increase commitment and loyalty and all that fun stuff. So that's it. That's just the one major reason of why we do get these documents signed. All right.
Hey, Ron, I want to thank you for changing your what you're going to do today. And
Yeah, and we'll talk about it in the future. I mean, we talk about multiple offers all the time. So next weekend we got family reunion. Next week we have family reunion. Interestingly enough, the panel at the very same time is talking multiple offers. We'll discuss the topic of multiple offers and obtaining in multiple offer situations the following week on that Thursday, 2:00. So in the meantime, I do want to thank everybody for being on the call, for participation. You guys were great as always. And I want to wish you a great Thursday. Be well. Let's get to work, guys. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks,
My
Ron.
pleasure.